Morning, everybody. We have Jeff Stark. He's an Army veteran. He's a pastor of Bridgeway in Pekin, and I'd like to introduce him.
What a beautiful morning. First off, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to share with you this morning, and thank you to Mayor Keith Beal for inviting me to be a part of this great day. I consider it a privilege to speak on any occasion, but especially on a day like this. And I am a U.S. Army veteran, 4.5 years, also a pastor, but today I want to share just a few moments here, a little bit about why I believe a day like Memorial Day is significant and why it's important to us as we gather in a moment like this. If we listen and if we quiet ourselves for just a moment, and if we lean in just a little bit back into our history, both distant and not so distant, I believe we'll hear the same words spoken by thousands upon thousands of voices. Voices whispered to us from the battlefields of the colonies, the lands north and south of the Mason-Dixon line. From the Western Front in Europe to Iwo Jima, Korea, the rice fields of Vietnam, the barren deserts of Iraq, and the treacherous mountain terrains of Afghanistan, and all of the other battlefields where American blood has been spilled. And I think those words that we would hear would say, earn it, earn this. The first time I heard those words, it struck me. I was in the military. I was a newbie, and we had been given a preview of a movie that a lot of us have probably seen. It was called Saving Private Ryan. It's a movie where Tom Hanks and Matt Damon play, and it's always shown around Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And at the end of the movie, dying Army Captain John Miller grabs hold of young James Ryan by the cuff of the shirt, and his dying breath, he whispers, "Earn it. Earn this." See, Captain Miller had led a team of soldiers throughout France after an invasion in Normandy, trying to find this one young soldier. All of Ryan's brothers, his 3 brothers, had been killed in battle, and the military leadership had decided they were going to send him home to spare his mother the loss of their last son. Throughout the mission, the entire platoon, minus 1, would lose their lives. And on a bridge that they bravely defended, Captain Miller sat dying with a gunshot wound to the chest. And he pulled Private Ryan to the side and he said, "Earn it. Earn this." And then he breathed his last breath. It's an interesting statement. What does Private Ryan do with this? How do you earn a gift of life given to you by men you've never met for reasons you did not earn, when you can't pay them back for what they've done? How do you earn the gift of life and freedom? The movie fast forwards several years later to an elderly James Ryan as he's standing at the headstone of the captain that saved his life. And as he stands there looking at the stone, he whispers, "Every day I think of what you said to me that day. And I've tried to live my life the best that I could, and I hope that was enough. I hope that at least in your eyes, I've earned all that you've done for me." That was all James Ryan had left. In light of all the sacrifice of all those young men to give him life, the only way that he could respond to the challenge of earn it was by living the best life that he could. Living a life that somehow reflected the gift that he'd been given. And as his wife approaches, he turns to her and says, "Tell me that I have lived a good life. Tell me that I'm a good man." That was the only thing he could think that would make the gift worthwhile. And her answer, "You are." See, each year on this day, we gather together as a country for a time of remembrance. We remember all those that have bravely served and fought and died for the ideals of justice and freedom, equality, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Ideals that have become the bedrock on which our society has been established. We raise flags to half-mast. We sing moving and patriotic songs. We hear inspiring words. And then we go back home, and life as usual. And I'm left wondering, often did we stop and listen to those words whispered to us throughout history? Earn it. Earn this. Because if we did, then we wouldn't be able to run back to our status quo, back to life as it is, as usual. We would instead hear those words as a challenge. We would hear those words as a call to action. When men and women offer themselves in service to their country, they're offering themselves in service and protection to those ideals in which we passionately believe. These ideals are what makes us different from many of our neighbors and our allies and enemies all around the world. It doesn't always make us better or morally superior, but it does make us different, or it should. When men and women don the uniform of military service, they are defending our way of life. They're defending the aspirations of opportunity. They're defending a country where at the turn of the 20th century, poor immigrants could make their way across the ocean, face difficult and oftentimes crippling challenges, poverty, disease, and prejudice, only to claw their way up and out and establish for themselves and their families a future and a hope. Opportunities that through education and job training, through hard work and dedication, through mentorship and strong leadership, through strategic initiatives in at-risk areas are still afforded to us today. They're defending an ethic of equality. They stand in the belief, though not always practiced, that under heaven God has created, placed his hand upon all humanity, regardless of their race or their place of origin, with the vision, the dream that each person should be treated fairly, with respect, justly and compassionately, and by the content of their character. That even with those with whom we disagree, whether it's politics or religion, that they are to be given a fair shake at forging their way ahead. They're defending a land that aspires to the ideals of democratic participation and civic virtue. These ideals should be established on the belief that we are all in this together. That the selfish and ambitious agendas of the few, the privileged, and the powerful should never define the ways of our domestic, financial, and international policies. But that we, in regarding one another as equals, look to the good of one another. A place where we still look out for one another. A land where the village still raises the children. A country of communities like Green Valley and many other small towns where we look out for those who are in need. A land where those that represent us truly represent the people and not their own ambitions. A land where we stand together for something bigger than ourselves. And they're defending the hope that one day our country can and will one day stand together, no longer ripped apart by the extremism of each side of the aisle, but instead brought together by the middle of the road kind of folks. Folks like most Americans, who believe in things like hard work, bringing up children in safe environments, common sense, living within your means, modesty, and moral rights and wrongs. That they'll again be given a voice to shape a future for a younger generation, a future that they can be proud of. See, when they don the uniforms, when they volunteer for service, they're standing on the walls of our country defending these ideals. Ideals that, if we look around, are regularly threatened, and not only by those from the outside, but also from our own greed and laziness and complacency and indifference from the inside. So we gather once a year in remembrance of these sacrifices, and we go home. But how tragic that even one should be lost as we live indifferent to the passions that placed them in harm's way in the first place. How tragic that our young boys and girls should surrender their lives and we do nothing in response. That's why I believe that this day each year is a challenge. It's a call to action. It's a day when remembrance means more than a few celebrations, decorations, and flags posted in the ground outside of courthouses. It's a moral imperative. Earn this. Earn it. It's the call to those of us that stand here today to live the kinds of lives each and every day that honor the sacrifices of these men and women. It's the call of those of us that stand here today to move out beyond our oftentimes self-absorbed lifestyles, to step into public arenas and participate with one another for the common good. It's the call of us here today to refuse indifference to injustice and greed and divisiveness, abuse, and the moral decline of our country. It's a call for us to stand up and do something. See, on Memorial Day, we're reminded that there are ideals that make us different in the world. And those ideals are only as good as our regular involvement in our communities, like Green Valley, and our society. In light of the sacrifice and service of so many, we are called to sacrifice and service. Perhaps volunteering at a civic organization. Maybe volunteering a day or two down at the school to be a part of the lives of young people. Maybe offering to be the male figure in the life of a child down the road who's being raised by a hardworking single mother. Perhaps it means living within our means or under our means so that we can come alongside those in our families and our communities who are struggling to make ends meet. Perhaps it's increased involvement in your local church or ministries that do good in the community. Maybe it's as a Red Cross volunteer or by mentoring a young man or woman at your workplace and showing them the kind of work ethic that got you to where you are. Maybe it's standing alongside the addict with a person that has been broken by life circumstances. Come alongside them. You walk with them and you encourage them. Perhaps it's involvement in political processes that preserve and protect the integrity of our common vision and our common hopes. And maybe for some of us, it begins with prayer. Seeking the will of the one who created all of us. Asking that his current concerns become our concerns. Nonetheless, whatever it may be, there is a call, an imperative in the voices of all of those whose bodies lay scattered on the battlefields all across this world. Earn this. Earn it. Live the kind of lives where the memories and the sacrifices are preserved in our lives every day, not just one day a year. Live the kind of lives where we look back, and as your time nears its end, you can say with confidence that you've given yourself to a cause that's bigger than yourself. Live the kind of lives where you can say, I honored those that sacrificed everything by leaving this place, this community, this world better when my time was up. This year on Memorial Day, I encourage you to remember those that have served by hearing their voices. Earn this. Earn it. As a pastor, I'm going to pray, and if you're not a praying person, I just ask you to have a moment of silence, but I want to pray. Father, a day like this is a tough day as we remember all of those who gave all. We recognize that their sacrifice should not be meaningless, but that it should be a call to us to stand together and make this country better, not only for our own selves, but for the generations upon generations that are yet to come. So Lord, help us to do what we can to earn this, to earn it, and to be difference makers wherever we find ourselves. In Jesus' name, amen.